we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you a special presentation of
Two Nerds, a podcast. Your home for everything movies, music, video games, and everything in between. With your hosts, Bunny the Bruiser, and Dynamite Jared Latching.
How's it going, everyone? We are Two Nerds. This is a podcast.
Thank you for listening to Two Nerds, a podcast.
I am your host.
And I am the other host, Dynamite Jared. And we have a very special guest today, buddy.
The most special of all the guests.
We've had him on the show before, but
Backed by popular demand.
backed by popular demand, our one listener ever, I think, said he sounds like a cool guy. Did he say that?
Something like that.
And introduce yourself, special guest.
Back again from the mean streets of Cleveland, Ohio. Midnight
Midnight
Miles.
Miles, our resident horror expert. What the fuck are we at?
No,
What's
that's
happening? Okay. Our resident horror expert here at Two Nerds, a podcast, even though me and Buddy both know a fair amount about horror too. But Midnight Miles likes to dig even deeper and watch the shit that even me and Buddy won't watch.
Yes. This is true.
This is fact. This is actually true.
But last week, I think you made a disclaimer before our video that we recorded it before this happened. But this week, you bet your sweet little ass that we are going to talk about a trailer that dropped a week ago.
A week ago today. Or a week ago yesterday.
A week ago as of recording
trailer.
this.
I'm currently watching it again.
You're watching it again right now?
Right now.
Right now. So you can pick up on some fact. We just watched a, didn't the title literally say 28 things you
It was
missed?
28 things you missed, but the list did not have 28 things.
Did you count?
It wasn't 28. There's no way. And most of them, I didn't learn anything.
Most of them were absolute garbage, and the one guy that hosted the video got so confused at one point because he was talking about the part where they talk about Michael being potentially related to Laurie Strode.
Correct.
And to Laurie Strode's granddaughter. And Laurie Strode's like, oh, that was just a rumor. And the dude gets so confused by the scene that he actually thinks that it has anything to do with Michael killing his sister at the beginning of Halloween 1,
Yes.
who is not Laurie Strode.
Yes.
Who would be Laurie Strode's older sister.
Who would be Michael Myers' theoretical older sister
In this,
if they
in
are not
this
related. If
rumor,
they are not related.
But he got all fucked up with it and totally just... The guy sucked.
Yeah.
He's wearing an Adpocalypse
Some
t-shirt.
people should just stay off the internet. That's my, just don't try. There's no reason. Just stop.
If you're not Two Nerds a podcast or a guest on Two Nerds a podcast, just don't even try.
Yeah, don't even, yeah.
Just don't even get on
Are you even an expert if you don't come on here?
If you're not on Two Nerds a podcast, you're officially not an expert. We only bring official experts onto the show, like Midnight Miles.
I'm officially sponsored. Just ask about me.
Who sponsors you?
Stella. Oh, hold on. Real quick. Side note. I've been followed up. I've been contacted by Matt Damon, and Stella Etoile is going to sponsor me if I can make it on a third Two Nerds a podcast show and shout out their beer. So I'm shouting out. Go get some Stella Etoile this weekend. It's pretty good. You can get it pretty much anywhere now. It's really good for this really hot, humid weather, and Matt Damon drinks it too, so you're going to be closer to Matt Damon if you drink it.
And closer to Midnight Miles. And
That is what is important.
Yeah, and that was our ad break. Thank you. We didn't have to come up with anything this week. We'll talk business after we stop rolling the sound here, because I know you can't talk about your contract deal with that beer company, but I want to know how much you're making from this, from the sponsorship. So. Or if it's just free beer for life.
It's just free. It's pretty much just free expired beer right now until I can get on Two Nerds. Until I get on Two Nerds podcast a third time, and then they said they're going to send me some non-expired kegs to my house.
Okay, so you get the cut.
There you go.
And if it gets beyond that, I can maybe Skype Matt Damon one day if he has free time. So, anyways, go ahead, guys. I'm screwing up the whole flow.
No, that was our ad break, so
Yes.
we're good. Usually, before these podcasts get rolling into like the major part of the
We need to take
of
a
the
pause for the
conversation,
cause.
there's a pause for the cause, an ad break. So we got that out of the way. We're talking about the Halloween 2018 trailer. This movie drops in October of this year, and the trailer, in my opinion, looks pretty fucking good. What do you think, buddy? It looks pretty good?
Looks pretty good from
Looks pretty
from
good.
what I've seen so far. I have some, not like, I don't know. Yeah, we'll get into it. I guess.
There were some things that I liked, and there were some things that I didn't like,
Right.
but in general, the trailer looks good. Midnight Miles?
I didn't really know what to expect. I actually, in all honesty, I expected the first trailer to be a little bit darker and a little bit more minimal than what they actually presented. So from the initial viewing, I was a little shocked because it was a little bit more. I think they exposed kind of a little bit of the story more than I thought they were going to, if that makes sense, in the first trailer.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, they dropped like 3 fucking teaser trailers the day before this. Because I
literally didn't watch any of them because I was like, wait, aren't I going to see a full trailer in like 10 hours?
Yeah, the teaser trailers were literally just clips from the trailer that eventually ended up airing. Like, the one teaser trailer was just like Jamie Lee Curtis shooting targets for like approximately 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it was like, full trailer tomorrow. Whoa. Full trailer tomorrow. Halloween 2018.
Jared better get hired by Blumhouse to do the trailer, like, the dialogue, because everyone would see it with that kind of voice.
Like the old like 80s and 90s trailer. It's like, they thought he was dead. They thought he was gone forever, but now he's back.
Or the Lionsgate guy that they hired in like 2004 to start doing the Saw trailers. He just did every scary movie trailer for like 15 years. If that guy isn't a millionaire, something is wrong with that because he did so many trailers.
He did at least 1 million trailers, and so they had to give him at least $1
at least
per trailer.
$1 per trailer. Yeah.
Hey, I'd do it. Shit,
So, anyways,
Halloween. Back to Halloween.
yeah, Halloween. So, anyways, the trailer's out. We all watched the trailer. We've all watched like, even little tidbits about the trailer,
Right.
and everything. So, I mean, I guess we got the guest on the show. I don't want to talk over him for the whole time. So, Midnight Miles, let's let you bring up the first thing you noticed or that hit you about this trailer, or the first thing you liked or didn't like. What was your takeaway?
Right, I'm actually rewatching it again. I've just been looping this as we're talking about it so I can really get in the zone. I'm a professional. You see, I'm down here, I got the TV on, I'm looping the trailer, I'm picking up on stuff. I like the beginning of the trailer, when they're walking through the courtyard and, they're giving all the crazy inmates, some fresh air or whatever the hell they're doing.
It's like Recess or whatever, or like.
Basically,
Well, I think they call it.
Recess for serial killers.
I think they call it recreation time or something like that, or something. I don't know.
I
Only
think
one
it's
of us has
something
ever
like
been to
that.
jail before, so
Yeah.
I think it was an interesting starting point. Jamie Lee Curtis's character seems to have a very, in a sense, simplistic motivation. She just wants to kill Michael so she knows she's safe for the rest of her life. But
or maybe she's safe and her family is safe, and
Yeah. I mean, that's a basic human instinct. I mean, especially when she went through something so traumatic as that. I mean, it's clearly in the trailer it's consumed her for the last 40 years. She bought literally 2 million weapons on the black market. I don't believe anyone in the world has more weapons than her right now in this trailer. I'll give one thing I didn't like before I bring it back to you guys, and then we can bounce off each other.
I want to compare something. A comparison that just popped into my head now for like kind of like a sequel to sequel kind of thing is that Jamie Lee Curtis is kind of like Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 and this, except she's never like institutionalized or anything to our knowledge. But she's just like absolutely obsessed, and she's basically fucking GI Jamie Lee Curtis. And,
There you go.
and Sarah Connor was GI Sarah Connor. It's not as clever.
They're going to use. I just want you to know that they're going to listen to this podcast, and on future TV spots for the trailer, they're going to quote that.
G.I. Jamie Lee Curtis.
I didn't like the scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is in the middle of the street. Jared and I talked about this. Was the first thing about, and she's like a mile away from a house, and you can see one or two other houses next to her. So she's at an angle. I mean, she's fairly far from this house, and she has a handgun, and she sees Michael clearly in a window, but you can clearly see the dark wood frame of the mirror, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool. I got bullets to waste," and then just shoots it with precision accuracy right into his face, into the mirror. And I'm like, why would she do that? Like, I'm still trying to figure out the motivation for that.
Well, the precision accuracy doesn't upset me at all, because I think I told you as that she's basically, from the looks of the trailer, she's been fucking building a bomb shelter at her house for fucking 40 years and shooting mannequins in her backyard. So she knows her way around a gun at this point in her life. Shooting at the mirror, I can only explain it as just like a knee-jerk reaction. Even though in the trailer she like kind of takes her time, I'm going to write that off as dramatic effect for the movie. But like, kind of just like, holy shit, like you see him, her heart probably fucking stops. You know what I mean? Because she's actually seeing him, I'm assuming, for the first time in 40 years.
Yeah.
And just...
If that's the first reveal from him to her, then I think it'll be excellent. If she sees him at all before that, I think it'll be random and a little bit meaningless to me, because she already has that initial shock out of the way.
Yeah. I'm gonna assume that that's their first like sight of each other, because he's obviously seeing. He obviously has supervision because he's a super fucking human. So through a reflection in a mirror going all the way out to the street, I'm assuming he's looking at her somehow. That seems even less possible than, what she did. But he's Michael Myers, so we don't fucking complain about what he can and can't do.
Right.
Anything's possible. Let's just put it that way. I'm sorry. I'm watching the trailer again because I wanted to see this shot that we were just talking about, how literally far it is away again. I do like all the homages to the beginning of Halloween, where there's the gas station. There's also, the escaped convicts, even though they're on a bus in this, it looks like, but them kind of roaming through the fields, because in the original Halloween, there's all those.
They're all roaming through the courtyard or whatever. Yeah,
there's all those really dark lit scenes, and there's fog, but there's almost no backlights or even anything besides it looks like like the headlights of the car, and it was very creepy and spooky in a good way to set the tone for the film. You know what I mean? So I like that they kind of are showing oh, hey, we're trying to have a nice homage to the original film in that. Yeah,
there's a bunch of homages to actually even some of the later movies
which this
guy is like the only thing the guy pointed out. Like, I think that there's the
thorn symbol in the bathroom.
It's like in their drawing. If you erase literally 90% of the drawing, 2 of the line or 3 of the lines form the thorn symbol or some shit.
Oh wow!
The gas station part was cool. One thing that I really like about this trailer that I told you about, but I haven't talked to Buddy about this trailer pretty much at all, other than, hey, it's coming out, we need to do something about it, is that one of my concerns with this movie that I think I voiced on the podcast, I definitely voiced to everyone, was that if Michael Myers is not Laurie Strode's brother...
I was going to bring this up.
Why is he going after her again? But in this trailer, and what I'm assuming the script of the movie and the movie will be, is that he's not going after Laurie Strode. She just so happens to be there when he goes back. It's been 40 years.
She's going after him.
And he's just going back to Haddonfield and doing his thing again. And I'm sure he'll have some sort of reaction or whatever when they do really encounter each other again, that he will remember her or anything, but she's not his main target. Right. He has no main target, and I really like that.
But that was one of the...
I think it's good.
Well, one of the
Sorry,
things...
go ahead, buddy, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. Look, that was one of my concerns when I watched it the initial time, and the thing I didn't like... Again, I haven't seen the full movie yet. I don't know how it's all going to pan out. But I don't know, how do you guys feel about this kind of, for what we know, ignoring Halloween 2? Because that guy in his video said, oh, well, they could just be making up that they're not brother and sister, and then in the movie they actually are still. But
that would be absolutely terrible. That would be the worst thing. That would be the worst thing ever if you ignored Halloween 2, but still revealed that they were brother and sister. That would be absolute garbage.
It would be terrible. Literally.
Because the only reason to ignore Halloween 2 is to ignore the fact that they're brother and sister. Like, that's the only reason to ignore it.
Or that he was burned alive.
Well, I guess that too, but like, you could still just write into your script that he was burned alive and he survived because he already survived 6 gunshots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, and they already came out with 30,000 other sequels where he survived being burned alive. So, I mean...
I don't like that they're ignoring Halloween 2 because I think it's literally...
I think it's a good two-parter for me. I mean... Like, I don't
You said you do like they're ignoring Halloween 2, Miles?
No, I don't. No, I have a Halloween 2 poster hanging up in my house. I have a Halloween 2 poster shirt. I mean, Halloween 2, I have a list of basically like my favorite horror sequels of all time. I keep wanting to put it on Letterboxd, but I'm lazy as hell, or I'm busy as hell. But pretty much always it goes back and forth between 1 and 2. In regards to the slot, the Halloween 2 is easily probably the best horror sequel in my book of all time. I think it's a perfect continuation of the first film.
Woo! That's great. I mean, I like that because I really like Halloween 2. But that's a bold statement.
One of the best sequels. It's even better that it was made 3 years after the original.
I'm going to tell you this, right? I'm actually going to cut you off because I just thought about one, but you'll disagree because you don't think that this is a better sequel. I think that Evil Dead 2.
No, I was going to say that is the ultimate sequel.
Evil Dead 2.
No, I would say that those two for me, it's back and forth.
Well, there's other sequels. It doesn't always have to be
the direct sequel.
It doesn't always have to be 2.
It doesn't have to be a direct sequel, but when you think about watching, say you watch Halloween and Halloween back to back, if there was no edit or no anything in between,
they'd flow into each other.
They would almost flow as one cohesive film.
Other than the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis has obviously changed her hairstyle.
Okay, I'll give you that. But I just like the setup where it literally starts moments after, the initial film, and even at that point there had been Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th Part 2 had come out. There'd been a couple other the beginnings of horror franchises, and they've had some sequels that were popular, but none of them really started or were like a direct continuation of literally the same night. And I think at the time, that's an ingenious idea and like the perfect way to make a sequel without, I don't want to say alienating the people that like the original, but it's so true to the original that it's just, I don't know, it's just a great story, mind-blowing sequel, great kills, great atmosphere. I mean, I just can't say enough good things about Halloween 2.
I love Halloween 2. I initially did not like that they were ignoring. I initially fucking hated it, and I was very public on the podcast, kind of just like, why? I mean, I'll give this movie a chance, but why the fuck are you ignoring the one, like, universally liked sequel in the whole fucking franchise?
Yeah.
But now that, like, and the thought didn't even occur to me about Carpenter's original vision for Michael Myers as a character. The thought didn't even initially occur to me until this trailer happened, that Michael Myers didn't have a purpose. He never had a purpose. He was just a killer.
Yeah.
He just kind of aimlessly killed or whatever, and it was kind of in Haddonfield, and like maybe even bringing him back to Haddonfield in this is still too purposeful for him.
Yeah.
But the second movie immediately gave him a purpose, and from that point on, we as the series progressed and kind of got worse and worse, even though I like all the sequels, but the more details that we found out about Michael Myers and the more that the curtain was pulled back, the less spooky he got and kind of the shittier the sequels got as a thing. And that was the first, like, clue right there in that movie, is it started right there when they determined that they were brother and sister.
I think it's just a curse of making anything a franchise. I mean, you can't remake. You'll never have that initial, reaction, or you'll never have that initial origin story or anything like that. I mean, people don't want to see the same movie 7 times, but studios want to make 7 movies because they're going to make, whatever the area is, $10 to $50 million a piece, and costs $5 to $7 million to make. So the money's there. Video sales, rentals are there, especially in the 80s and 90s. So they got to find a way to try to keep enough of the original pieces together that add some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess, I don't know, some sort of mythology, I guess, would be the best word. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I have a love-hate with all the sequels of most franchises because I want to see this universe. I want to see these characters, but, I kind of have to put up with maybe some quality loss along the way,
Well, you always have to put up with some quality loss, pretty much, but except for in Evil Dead 2, where you get the quality.
You get the cream of the crop as the second one.
You get the quality plus right there. I'm just fucking with you, but you really do. But as we're sitting here talking about this whole sister and brother kind of plot line, and the reason why it kind of pissed me off so much at the beginning is because, I've grown up on this. So now it's basically universally accepted at this point that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are brother and sister. So but when you look back on it, right? They easily could have done the same movie in Halloween 2 without that entire scene. Without
the brother and sister.
Without the brother and sister.
Because he's just trying to
You easily could have cut that out, and it could have just been like, okay.
He's just trying to finish what he started.
It's the same fucking night.
Yeah.
He doesn't want this girl to fucking get away, so he's still stalking her. She doesn't have to be his sister for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that easily could have been cut out of the movie. But I agree with you 100%.
The whole storyline, and it was executive producer, because Carpenter wrote 2, right? That was the last. He wrote 2 and he wrote 3, didn't he?
He was
a producer. I don't know if he wrote it.
I don't think that he wrote it, but he went back and reshot
stuff for the TV edit or something.
Well, no, he reshot some murder scenes because the initial cut of the movie. The guy that directed it, he wanted it to be very Carpenter-esque and it to be a lot like Halloween 1. And so a lot of the murder scenes and stuff, I guess, didn't have a lot of violence and everything. And Carpenter thought that this one should step up the violence. And so he reshot some of the murder scenes and made them more violent. I know that happened.
Was it Tom Holland that directed 2?
Well, I'm talking to you on my speakerphone right now, so I can't really look it up, but I think that name sounds right.
No, Tom Holland directed fucking not Halloween 2, I don't think.
Well, look it up, buddy.
Well, no,
if you're the fucking
whoever directed Halloween 2 directed numerous horror films. He was a pretty big director throughout the 80s, but Halloween 2 was one of his first. I know Tommy Lee Wallace directed 3, I think. I thought maybe I could be wrong. Shit, it's been a long day. I don't know. Anyways,
Ricky Rosenthal.
Rick Rosenthal.
Rick Rosenthal directed Halloween 2.
Fuck. Yeah. He was one of those names I thought maybe there's somewhere in there too. What else did he do?
He's looking at the filmography right now. But
So, like, Fright Night 2? No.
if he did Fright Night 2, that movie's amazing. That's a great horror sequel.
That might have been Tommy Lee Wallace did Fright Night 2. A couple of the directors that worked on the Halloween series went to work on, like, some fairly big, at least, sequels in the 80s for horror franchises.
He directed Nasty Boys and The Birds 2.
Oh, my God. What else? I swear he did
I wonder if Alfred Hitchcock rose from the grave to make his murder scenes more violent in Birds 2. Oh, fuck. How do you get stuck doing that? The two, like, fucking masters of suspense, and you fucking direct the sequels to their movies.
the money.
Fuck, did he direct Psycho 2 as well? If he did a really good job, because Hitchcock did not come back from the dead to redirect that thing. Really?
I thought the writer of the book directed Psycho 2.
Yeah, no. I think Robert Block or whatever his name is.
Did he direct? I don't think he directed it because he actually wrote a Psycho 2 book that does not follow the storyline. Like, he wrote Psycho 2 and 3 that were, like, unrelated to the sequels of the movies, and I think he wrote them before those sequel movies even came out.
I think I'm thinking of William Peter Blatty with The Exorcist. I think he was, like, heavily involved with Exorcist 3 or something like that. But
he actually directed Exorcist 3.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Which Exorcist 3 is phenomenal. I'm just going to throw that out there while we're on the podcast.
Phenomenal might be kind of strong, but better than Exorcist 2.
No. It's extremely good. It has literally one of my favorite, like, random scare scenes. I guess it would be like a long shot scare scene, like a background scene ever. Probably one of my favorite in history. I don't know if either of you guys have seen it, but you should.
I've seen it. It's been like about a decade since I've seen Exorcist 3, but I have seen it, yeah.
It's the scene, so you would know what I was... It's literally...
What, the exorcism at the end?
What's that?
The exorcism scene at the end?
No, the hospital scene. And it's in the background while two people are, like, walking by.
Okay. Well, we're here to talk about Halloween 2018.
All right.
So, buddy, what was one of your takeaways from this trailer that you did not like, or did like, or you know, whatever?
That I did like.
Or didn't like. What was one of your big takeaways?
Well, I already said the thing I didn't like was the Halloween 2 thing. I guess one thing that I did like about it is the Laurie Strode being a badass looks like it's going to be handled a little more seriously than it did in H2O, where a lot of the badassery could also be perceived as slapstick.
Oh, man, it's funny because they did try to make her a badass in H2O, but when I look back on H2O, the last thing that comes to mind is badass when I think of Laurie Strode. The only badass moment that I can think of in that movie is when she's walking down the hall or whatever, or maybe it's LL Cool J that's walking down the hall, because this movie was made during that weird time where famous rappers were basically in every horror movie sequel that came out at that time. But Michael Myers kind of lowers himself from, like, the piping with one arm. He's like doing one-arm pull-ups, basically. He's like slowly lowering himself down. That was badass. And then there's obviously the decapitation that turned out to be...
the whole
which actually a lot of people thought was a really bad, like, plot twist in Halloween Resurrection. I thought it was probably the best thing in Halloween Resurrection as far as continuing the story was that he switched
because
the costume with that guy.
There was no way to bring him back at that point if his head had been removed.
Pretty much the first 15 minutes of Halloween Resurrection, I think, are fucking awesome. So
I think the whole movie's awesome. That's one of my guilty pleasures, and I can't believe I didn't bring that up on Guilty Pleasures. episode.
I mean, if you don't like Busta Rhymes fighting Michael Myers in a fucking burning inferno, you should probably just kill yourself. I'm just going to put that out there as a disclaimer right now for, we're not saying kill yourself, but if you don't find some entertainment value out of it, you should probably think about it. Just like, let the thought pass
just
through your
consider
fucking head.
suicide.
Yes.
It's 2018. It's a really hot button topic right now, but still, just consider
Yeah.
just consider it.
I mean, that's why I said consideration. I'm being politically correct here. I'm not telling you to do it. But if you don't like Busta Rhymes jumping in the air and screaming shit with flames around him...
Trick or treat, motherfucker!
See, I let that open for one of you to do, because you do it better than I would, probably.
Hey, Mikey! Happy fucking Halloween!
And it's got what's-her-face in it? Who's else is... Tyra... Is it
Tyra Banks.
Fuck,
Yeah,
I
Tyra
forgot
Banks.
she's in that shit. And that movie is shit. I'm gonna full on put the disclaimer out there. It's even though I say I love Halloween Resurrection, it is shit. I'll be the first to tell you the movie's total shit. But I think that as horror fans and even as wrestling fans or anything, I think that a lot of times the fans of these kind of things take their shit a little bit too seriously.
Right.
When it's
Yes.
on the surface, everything you watch is actually really silly when you think about it and put it in a reality perspective. And so when silly things like this happen in movies and you take it too seriously, you need to take a step back and kind of evaluate what you're actually a fan of. You know what I mean? So, like, that's just my take on it, and that's why I'm always able to...
I wanted to segue out of this for a segue into something else, but it would involve going into wrestling, and it was something that you just hit the nail on the fucking head, though, earlier this week, just reading comments, but I feel like maybe we didn't wrap up the Halloween trailer. I don't know. Are we wrapped up or not?
I mean, there's still some things to talk about here. I mean, we'll get into wrestling and maybe this whole taking things seriously thing
Yeah.
on down the road. I'll talk about one of the things that I didn't like in this trailer that I haven't mentioned to anyone. I really do not like the prison yard scene in the
Where
trailer.
they're like taunting him with the mask. I thought that was a little weird.
Where they're using the mask and then all the patients or whatever start freaking out. You know what I mean?
Well, do the other patients know who he is?
They know who he is, but they're not like freaking out like, oh, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. They're like just all start going crazy. Like they're all triggered by the mask.
Like they're all happy. They all look happy. Like, because I've watched the trailer multiple, like they're all smiling or freaking out. It's like, are all of these patients like telepathic? Do they all like? I mean, because some of them probably don't even fucking know what day it is, or even if they're alive. Let's just fucking be honest. I'm curious, man.
I didn't like that scene because it screams just so like kind of modern, supernatural, like cliched horror trailer.
Right, yeah.
Like from like the 2010s basically at this point. It seems like every like ghost movie we see now, there's always a scene in the trailer where everybody in the retirement home or something, all the old people start rocking back and forth really fast, you know what I mean? And acting all fucking loony, scary old people, you know what I mean? Just like, I didn't like that at all. And I also don't like to try to trigger him with the mask, because the mask was totally like unrelated. It was just a mask.
He just stole it.
A mask that he stole from the store. And like, I feel like the one thing that we can relate to Michael Myers is that he likes to wear a mask when he's killing people. Because he wears the clown mask when he kills his sister, and he wears the stolen William Shatner mask when he's killing everyone else in the movie. But they kind of tried to put like a certain symbolism to that one certain mask, which I understand because it's kind of like a franchise cornerstone at this point. But like,
but in the terms of this movie, it isn't a franchise cornerstone.
But in the timeline of this movie, there is no significance to that mask, other than the fact that he's going to be wearing it again.
Yes. What else didn't you like?
Sorry, I'm listening. I feel like I'm here, but I'm watching wrestling, and Bully Ray is trying to have a heartfelt Bully Ray's trying to have a heartfelt promo right now. He's totally out of character for how he's been for the past month, and it's totally throwing me through a fucking loop. So, all right, that's our other. We'll do a second ad break, sponsor break. Watch Ring of Honor Wrestling on Fight TV. Maybe they'll sponsor me. I can get a free subscription or something, Honor Club or whatever shit they're trying to sell me. Anyways, back to what we were saying.
So we were saying that the mask in this movie should have no psychological significance to Michael Myers.
You hit it. I was listening to you, by the way, but you hit the nail the nail on the head. Sorry. It's literally just a franchise thing, you know. I mean, like you can't have Michael Myers without the mask.
I understand that, and I'm totally fine with him just kind of coming across the mask and putting it on again. I don't think anyone would question that. But to do like a whole scene
like
kind of centered around the mask where it had this kind of psychological connection, but you're writing off every other movie where he wore this mask for, you know, the past 40 years. And so you're just signaling it down to the one movie where the mask was literally just a stolen mask by coincidence. It's just one that he grabbed at a fucking store. So, like, it just didn't make any sense, but I really just didn't like the whole fucking ritual that basically happened with all the other crazy people. Maybe they think that, maybe they all know that when that gets introduced and he's getting triggered and it's close to Halloween, that they're going to get set freed again like they did 40 years ago. Yeah. If we're assuming that these are all the same fucking patients that have been there.
Where is he going to go? Just being honest. Like,
the dude in the wheelchair? I hope to God they show him fucking strolling around in the field when Michael breaks free.
I'll seriously throw up on the person in front of me in the movie theater.
So, I mean, we've talked... I mean, I really like the trailer, and I'm really excited about this movie, because everything else that happens, basically, from this point on, like, after the setup and everything, is just really great, kind of creepy, like, kind of suspense stuff. I mean, does anybody on the planet not like the scene where the babysitter's trying to close the fucking closet?
Yeah.
But it won't close because he's in there? I guess it's hitting his fucking steel toes or something like that?
It just won't close. Hitting his boner because he knows he's about to kill someone.
Is he going to re-dig up Judith Myers and shit like that? Because that'll be a cool visual, because at this point you got to assume that she's just a fucking rotted away skeleton. You know what I mean? But, like, for some reason in Halloween, her corpse has been perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
At this point. But you know she's got to be fucked up at this point.
40 years, man. She's probably just bones.
It's more than 40 years since she's been dead. In this movie, I'd say...
Shit, yeah,
it's been 40 years since he was caught again.
What would it be, 55 years, maybe?
57, maybe? I think, was it 17 years in the original Halloween?
I can't, yeah, you're probably right. I can't remember.
Something like that.
Back, but still,
so,
yeah. I mean,
Michael Myers is pushing 70 in this film. So I don't know if it was his boner stopping that door.
Well, I mean, some 70-year-old men still have pretty good blood flow.
Maybe they gave him Viagra, the slammer, you know what I mean?
It keeps him distracted. That's what's kept him in the slammer for 40 years, and we're not stopping now.
Wheelchair guy. I don't know what he's doing.
Okay, so bold predictions for Halloween 2018. Bold predictions. Me and Miles already came up with one in our previous discussion. We're predicting that Michael Myers is going to get taken out by Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie once and for all. He's fucking done. They're not bringing this franchise back, right? They will. They're definitely bringing it back if this does well. But
I heard a rumor, but I'm gonna let Buddy say anything he wants to. But I heard a couple people that posted rumors online. And we'll see, but I'll let Buddy say what he's going to say first.
Here's our bold prediction: is that Jamie Lee Curtis is going to unload about 300 shots with an AK-47 into Michael Myers, and then a close up on her face as she lifts her rocket launcher up and delivers one of the hardest one-liners ever: "Trick or treat" or something like that. "Trick or treat, Michael." and then shoots the rocket out, and we get the rocket perspective as it comes out and flies into Michael Myers, and then he blows into 1,000 pieces right there. That's courtesy of Midnight Miles, but I didn't know if he remembered all that, so I definitely, it's the visual stuck in my head for a week now. I hope that's how the movie ends.
I'm hoping it just blows bits everywhere. Like, I'm hoping Jamie Lee Curtis gets bits of Michael Myers in her mouth.
Wasn't this originally supposed to be 3D?
I don't know.
No, it was the long story of the sequels. I guess originally Dimension had a good sequel to the Rob Zombies, and it was going to be directed. No, listen. It was going to be directed by the guy who did the My Bloody Valentine remake, who I love. And he's written a lot of scripts for horror films over the years and turned a lot of franchises around. And Dimension decided they thought they could make more money on Scary Movie 5 than they could another Halloween sequel, so they turned the script down.
Well, how much money did they make on Scary Movie 5?
What's that?
How much money did they make on Scary Movie 5?
I'm pretty sure after they did all the promotional, maybe $2 or $3 million. So I'm pretty sure I doubt it was worth it. But,
I think that a direct sequel to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 probably would have made the same amount.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was supposed to be more modest budget, and I guess, I don't know, the script got leaked, I guess, at one point, and people said it was amazing. So, I don't know. But that was supposed to possibly be 3D. But I don't think this one was ever supposed to be 3D.
Well, I was going to say that if it was ever supposed to be 3D, maybe they could have reused one of the shots from the rocket launching scene in 3D where like the body parts kind of fly out and everything. That'd be really cool. So anyways, buddy, do you have any bold predictions?
I can't have a bold prediction that follows a rocket launching Michael Myers.
Well, you could have had like a
They
judo...
They bang. Michael Myers, Jamie Lee Curtis, bang.
That's a bold prediction.
It's a bold prediction.
That's a bold.
What if he takes the masks off and kisses her, and right after he kisses her, he stabs her through the fucking chest and she dies?
Could happen.
Kind of like Halloween Resurrection. Like a sort of a callback to Resurrection, except she initiates the kiss in that.
Yeah.
True.
All right, Miles, do you have another bold prediction?
I don't have a prediction, but it's come up numerous times online that the only reason it was in Jamie Lee Curtis's contract that she would only do this film if this is the last Halloween movie ever. Like, it was she signed, I guess, I've seen numerous people on numerous websites post this, that the only reason she would do one more, besides the script being very good and John Carpenter coming back to produce, is that this would be the final Halloween film ever. So I'll be very curious if that ever comes to light, if there's any fact to that, or if this is actually finally it.
That can't be enforced, can it?
I don't know. I mean, people have had more ridiculous contracts than that before. Like when they're in,
it seems more reasonable to me because I can't buy into a whole studio giving up a a very lucrative franchise,
Right.
Just because Jamie Lee Curtis. Just to get Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie. I can't buy that. I say that it's in her contract that it's the very last Halloween film ever for her, that she can never, that she can't be brought back.
I'm assuming without a contract that she'll never come back again after this, regardless.
Because, if this film does very well, which I'm assuming they want to happen, they want this to do well, and when things do well, you got to do a sequel. You got to cash in on it. I don't like it. Actually, I do like it because I like sequels. Not in general because they usually ruin things. But I just like my favorite characters and things returning. But that's just the way the system works, is that you make more money until it's just absolutely beaten to death. And this franchise has lasted through ups and downs over 40 years. And I don't see this being the last ever, even if they have to wait for Jamie Lee Curtis to die. There will be another Halloween movie. It's never going to end until the planet ends.
I actually hope that's true. I don't want it to be the last Halloween movie.
But that's the way it's going to be, because, I mean, like, even though Friday the 13th has been going through development hell, nobody on the planet believes that we've seen the last Friday the 13th movie.
It's getting worse.
It can get worse. It can get worse and worse and worse and worse. Eventually, there's going to be another Friday the 13th movie.
I'm the number one fan, and I'm like waiting for the day. But the Friday the 13th game creators, about I think 2 weeks ago, can't even update any more new DLC for the game. They're going to run the servers, but even they now have gotten basically a cease and desist. The whole franchise, and they had gotten rights from numerous people, but now they've found a way around that through court. So they can't even finish the DLC that was promised. Right now, they've had to cancel it, and the whole court battle with the franchise still looks like it's going to take at least another year to be resolved. So, and not only that, New Line lost the rights. Oh no, excuse me. Paramount lost the rights because they stalled so long making the franchise that they are going back to New Line now. So the rights are in between basically two different film companies and the original script writer somehow, who's the one who's suing. So it's Friday the 13th is fucked right now, really bad. Probably the worst.
But do you honestly believe that it's done?
No, I don't believe it's done. I believe I'm pissed because they had already started pre-production from the last film for what would have been the newest film. I know some people in special effects, as you know, and they had already made Jason masks and started making props for the film. I mean, it was, already, been contracted. The actors were, they were about 2 weeks out from shooting when they canceled everything.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
I really feel bad, and I think that it's just an absolute travesty for the fans of the Friday the 13th game that they can't get the DLC that was promised to them because of some legal bullshit. And I think that, when you do a bunch of shit like this, it's really your consumers and your fans that are losing out because of bullshit like this. So,
it's just, it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, the guy who wants the franchise rights, I have no idea what he's going to do with them because he hasn't written a film in 10 years. Like, he's basically out of the industry. Like, does he want someone to cut him for a check for $1 million, $2 million so he can retire? Go ahead and just get it over with. That's how I look at it.
Anyways, we've talked about horror movies and Halloween, and we've stranded off into a million different things, but something else really major happened this past week, and we've been talking for like an hour already. So, we got to get into this and talk, because there's a lot to cover here.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be two nerds if we didn't cover this, if this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, we wouldn't be two nerds, and you wouldn't be Midnight Miles and all this shit. This past week was E3. The Electronics Entertainment Expo? I think that's what it is.
That's correct.
Okay. So, E3 was this past week, and as many of you know, E3 is when most of the major game announcements of the year are made, and we get to get a sneak peek at some of the upcoming games that are coming, all the major releases and everything. And so that was this past week, and we had a bazillion trailers to fucking dig through, and we've tried to narrow it down to some of the most interesting ones to us to kind of discuss on this podcast. So, Midnight Miles. I know you've been watching a lot of E3 trailers in preparation for this podcast, and we'll let you start us off. I don't want you to bring this. Actually, go ahead and bring it up first. I know what you're most excited about.
What am I most? Oh, okay, yeah. You do know what I'm most excited about. I watched an outrageous amount of E3 trailers for this podcast. I watched games I didn't even I'll never play, in all different genres. A lot of them were unimpressive, but whatever. But obviously the one I'm most excited for is the Resident Evil 2 remake. Both. Have you seen the second trailer, by the way? The gameplay trailer?
I haven't seen the gameplay trailer. Is it confirmed over the shoulder?
It's over the shoulder, yes.
All right, awesome.
It shows Leon. It's kind of a weird trailer because it shows gameplay, but they also do a bunch of quick flashes of clips. I think it's supposed to, disorient you.
Yeah.
But it looks the game. There's a scene where Leon's in a back quarter of the police station, and he headshots a couple zombies, and the blood, the gore is off the charts. I was just being a dick. I was like, how the fuck is Leon not going to get infected when someone just threw 2 gallons of infectious zombie blood basically on his face because how much blood squirting everywhere. But the trailer looks amazing.
I think that at this point in the franchise, well, not at this point at Resident Evil 2, because this is technically Leon's debut to the storyline canon, but at this point where we are in the franchise right now, I think that Leon and Chris and Claire and all these other characters are pretty much immune to all the viruses by the amount of blood that they've been fucking covered with by these guys. It's probably built an immunity.
They all have to be immune.
They could probably actually, they have been bit by zombies before in game, and they didn't do shit to them. So I mean,
I do applaud Capcom from keeping literally every single boss fight, besides showing clips of the Tyrant, out of the trailer. I think that's smart. It keeps fans interested, keeps them wanting more. I was waiting, because there were a couple scenes that were in the trash pit. I was waiting for the alligator/crocodile, whatever it is exactly. I think they call it an alligator, reveal scene, because I wanted to see how that looked. They never showed it. They never showed any scenes of William Birkin. I think I didn't fuck up his name. I'm pretty sure it's Birkin. For some reason, it's sounding wrong to me, but he goes through 4 transformations because the virus is ever evolving in the game. They showed none of his forms whatsoever, which makes me I want to see it. So I'm much more curious. I think it was great to kind of leave some stuff up in the air like that.
Yeah, I noticed the Tyrant in the trailer, and that got me fucking stoked up. But and then there's also the God, what the fuck are they called? The dudes that look like fucking Carnage, basically.
They're the Lickers.
Lickers, yeah. I saw a Licker in the trailer, kind of crawling up on the wall or whatever. But yeah, I'm really excited about that game because I love Resident Evil 2. Not as much as you, but I really love that.
It's my favorite. Resident Evil 2 is my favorite game of all time. I'll just throw it out there on the podcast. I think anyone who knows me knows that I've beaten every storyline at least 8 times per.
Well, now you'll get to beat them at least 3 more times because you'll.
I'm taking work off. I almost put in the day after. I took work off for Resident Evil 7, so I'm definitely going to take work off for the Resident Evil 2 remake.
All right, so I mean, I'm really excited about that game. It's been announced for a while, but that was our first trailer, I think, that we got of it, besides a teaser or something. So that was really cool. Buddy, what game really caught your interest the most out of the trailers that you watched?
I don't know if it caught my interest. I guess I'll bring up 2 things that have been on my radar the most. I'm just happy the Kingdom Hearts 3 has finally been announced, so everyone stops talking about it.
Okay, did you actually play Kingdom Hearts back in the day?
Yeah, I played the first 2, and I played Chain of Memories on Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
And I always thought they were fine games, but literally it's been 13 years since the second one, and now that it's just out, I'm happy that it's out. So everyone every year is like, oh, I can't wait for Kingdom Hearts 3, and then just nothing fucking happens.
Well, yeah, I'm like, but that's the way it is, though. Is like that you have all these like great franchises and everything, and Kingdom Hearts is a great franchise. That like you get a sequel like every 3 years.
Yeah.
And you said right there, it's been 13 years since Kingdom Hearts 2, and we've had like kind of some side stories and shit come out on portable and everything. But when was the major console Kingdom Hearts 3 gonna fucking come out?
Right.
People wanted it. There was no reason not to make it, so it was like a long wait. What's the other thing that was on your radar?
And I have mixed feelings about it.
Okay.
I have mixed feelings about it. I know from your postings you're excited about it, but I'm pretty skeptical about the new Mario Party.
Listen, I mean, I'm excited, but I'm also really skeptical too, because I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean?
The things I liked, obviously, it's back to the normal dice system.
That's what it seems like in the map. That's what it seems like.
I am intrigued by the fact that you can roll a 0.
You're intrigued. I love that. It's like that could absolutely deflate your entire fucking turn, literally.
But the thing I don't like is I'm scared it's going to be too gimmicky. Because as you see in the trailer, they have like the switches on the table.
Yeah.
Like I just want to sit, look at a TV, and play a game.
Well, I think that in Mario Party, in the GameCube versions, and maybe even a little on the N64, I don't remember, there's always been sort of like kind of a gimmick that they were trying to push.
Yeah.
But it was never really like 100% necessary for the game.
Like some of the later
like the
ones,
microphones,
right.
with like the voice commands and everything.
But you didn't
like that.
need to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that there will be like these games, like that tank game where you can put your switches and everything like that and play with your friends and set up the map or whatever. I think there'll be those games where it's like, okay, but like when you start like your 50 turn game or whatever, it's like you can turn that off or something. Maybe not, but I hope so, because I really don't want to fucking pull my Switch out of the dock when I'm playing a 50 turn fucking massacre fucking war. In Super Mario Party.
Right.
It does appear that they're going back to the classic game board map system that they do. Now, like I said, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when it comes out and I either play it or I read online that that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And then I'll be extremely ecstatic, because that's what I've been waiting for. They've tried they've tried like
scenario.
3 different other things and they all fucking sucked. So, I mean, like, I'm ready for them to go back to basics and just incorporate the Switch into new creative ways and give me cool mini games.
Right. And, of course, they announced Smash, and I'm not as excited.
They didn't announce Smash, but they sure as fuck talked about it for like 5 hours.
And here's the thing, like, it's like, you know it's gonna be good, so there's no reason really, like, getting super excited about it, because you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, the minute they... Honestly, that announced trailer with the Splatoon characters that we talked about on the podcast, that was basically all we needed. And I mean, the first, like, the thing that every character that's ever been playable in franchise history is playable in this game.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, and that's a cool announcement. Did we need to talk about Smash Brothers for 2 hours?
No.
Just to get that fact out. They literally went through every character's special moves and everything. I was watching the live stream of the Nintendo conference, hoping that there was going to be a Zelda trailer. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't. And there wasn't a Metroid Prime trailer that I know a lot of people were excited about potentially being there. It was all fucking Smash Brothers.
That would have got me to possibly buy a Switch. I'm sitting in the background listening to all this because I am a Nintendo fan, but not like you guys. I was more of a Sega fan.
Well, Sega's basically on Nintendo.
Yeah.
At this point. You know what, Miles? Buy a Switch. Actually, this will come out on all consoles, but Nintendo announced Mega Man 11 in their press conference.
I did see that. I did see that. That is coming out on PS4. I know that. I think it's coming out on Xbox One.
I didn't get a good look at it. Are they going to the Mega Man... are they going to the Mega Man 7 or 8 graphics with this one, or are they sticking with the 8-bit graphics?
You know, I read an article on that. That's one of the few trailers I didn't watch, because literally everyone's E3 trailer this year was 11 minutes long.
Yeah.
So I literally spent 2 hours. I didn't watch any of the conferences because I don't give a fuck what they say about the games right now.
Oh God, you missed a great conversation topic. Well,
I'm from I guess I missed Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I missed a few other.
I missed JGL too. What the fuck? Love that guy.
But anyways, I just watched trailers on YouTube, and it's still, I blacked out watching Spider-Man trailer at like 1 in the morning, and I was like, fuck, I watched a lot of shit in a row. I mean, seriously, I was like, this is exhausting watching this. But Metroid was the one series from Nintendo, even going back, and I mean, especially Metroid Prime series was the reason I bought a GameCube initially.
Yeah.
So
it's a highly regarded series, and it's gonna make a return at some fucking point.
Right.
It has to. It has to. But Jesus fucking Christ, they're fucking taking their time and dick tickling a lot of people out there right now.
Well, it's good. It's good for people who I like Mario. I've played a lot of Marios, but I was more of a Sonic guy for like platforming and other stuff like that. So Metroid was kind of like one of the franchises that was like, oh, I need to play a Nintendo system. Like I think it's like maybe more of like a person like me, I'm casual Nintendo. So, like, yeah, I could go over to my friends and play Super Smash Brothers or Mario Party or something, but I'm looking for, like, a good, solo experience. I can just play when I'm in my basement, when I want to relax or something, and Metroid always did that. So, that would have been a good announcement for someone like me.
Well, damn, I mean, I got excited until I actually watched the trailer. For Starlink, which I was under the impression...
I told you.
I was under the impression, based on what I had seen to that point, that it was the new Star Fox game that was finally coming out.
No, it's a cameo, brother.
Oh, shit, hell yeah. And then Buddy informs me, like, oh, go back and rewatch that shit, bro. He's just a special Nintendo exclusive character. This is a non-exclusive game that's going to be on the thing. And then I actually watched the trailer. And what I was treated to...
Didn't Ubisoft make that?
Yeah.
Aren't they making it or something?
Yeah. What I was treated to was about 3 minutes of the corniest dialogue I could ever imagine.
And then Fox at the end just being like, hey,
it didn't even show Fox at the end.
It didn't show Fox.
Not the trailer I watched. There was seriously 30,000 different trailers for this fucking game that they apparently showed at E3. Apparently they showed this trailer at every single press conference for every single company. And then in the Nintendo one, they were like, oh, Fox is in our version. Great, Nintendo. Fuck you. Release a real Star Fox game, you fucks.
And the dialogue, honestly, I don't think it looks like that great of a game. And it
looks bad.
It's got a hefty price tag on it. It's $80.
It looks bad. But I think one of the things that they were touting here, what I could gather from the trailer, is that the part of the control scheme is going to be like ship models that you actually have.
So you have
throughout the trailer, you would see pretty realistic looking hands would hold up these ships, and then it would show a ship in gameplay graphics that kind of coincide with the ship that was being held in the hand.
So it's not like...
It was kind of like an amiibo or one of those things, maybe like a Skylander kind of deal.
I was going to say, it's like the Skylanders, only it's like planes and stuff.
And this is what I could gather from a trailer, and I'm sure if I watched an actual conference where they discussed the game, that would be more. So maybe that explains the hefty price tag. But I mean, you got to give me some good gameplay first. That's one of the things about E3 is you can make something, you can fucking polish a turd really nice, in that we've learned from experience.
At the end of the day, it's still a turd.
And when these games come out and everyone's really hyped for them, a lot of times they turn out to be really fucking shit. So...
What other trailer? Did anybody else... I talked to Jared. I watched the Devil May Cry 5 trailer.
I didn't watch that trailer, but you said it just looked like a Devil May Cry game.
It looked like they're going, just going back to basics, making game. I don't think Dante is the main character. Is it Nero or whoever was in 4? I don't know. Someone was trying to explain the story online. I was like, I don't want to fucking listen to this. I did see a trailer that really impressed me, the Ubisoft put out Beyond Good and Evil 2. I played Beyond Good and Evil 1 on PlayStation 2. Absolutely love that game. That's a game that's taken, 15 years, 16 years for a sequel. Just, if you guys have any time this weekend, watch the Beyond Good and Evil trailer, Beyond Good and Evil 2, because it looks like it'd be like an epic, like, just sci-fi, ridiculous film, and the graphics are phenomenal. It looks like you don't need to play the first game to enjoy this one, but it is a prequel, so I guess that...
Yeah, that's right, because I read up on it, and I guess, like, the character you play in, like, the old one is the villain of this one, because it takes place before the original.
That's what it seems to be, but, I mean, trailer was absolutely amazing. The one that I'm surprised no one talked about, one of the other games was set out, The Last of Us 2 trailer.
Hey! I was in my storage bank.
All right. Well, then I'll take the lead on this. Then I'll let you take the lead on this.
This is probably the game that I'm most excited about that they announced. That's why I was kind of saving it for last. Because let's face it, this is probably one of the only games here. It's not, but it's pretty much. It's one of the few games that was announced at E3 that's basically a guaranteed good game. Basically, it's following up one of the greatest games of the past generation of consoles.
Yeah.
And Jesus fucking Christ, the gameplay portion of this trailer was so cinematic. Like,
it was amazing.
I was fucking blown away as I was watching. I was like, am I really watching gameplay? But then I would see the user interface or whatever.
The HUD. They would show them.
They would show the hub, and then she would do the thing. But they did a really good job in this trailer of not recycling any character animations, and everything just looked super cinematic and smooth and everything. And I'm wondering, like, my biggest wonder is if the gameplay experience, when you actually get your hands on it, is going to be that smooth and that cinematic, and you're not going to see a lot of recycled character animations and stuff like that. And even if you do, we know that the gameplay is going to be solid, because this is a follow-up to The Last of Us, which was just a really rock-solid, tight game that was just had great fucking story, great gameplay, man. One of my favorite things was sneaking up on somebody with a brick in my hand and just fucking cracking a brick right over their fucking head. God, that was so fucking satisfying in that game.
We won't be as badass as whoever is playing in the trailer, though, because that trailer, the person, I wonder how many times they had to play through that. To, like,
it seemed like they were in a pretty difficult pinch in that trailer, and they fucking worked their way out of it flawlessly.
Like, literally crafting stuff. There were a couple times in the trailer I'm like, turn around. The other character is literally right behind you. You're not even trying to hide anymore. But literally had, like, the crafting down to, everything, which made an awesome cinematic trailer. But I'm watching this, I'm like, man, you could take out, like, 10 motherfuckers like this and craft some fucking arrows in the middle. Well, the dude who just saw me sneak behind this bench is like, I'm about to come cut this fucking trick with a machete right now. Like, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to play as good as this player,
One of my favorite parts of the trailer, actually, was when Ellie tries to take that hostage that immediately gets fucking sniped with an arrow, right? And just the way that she reacts and just kind of lets the character just kind of just slide out of her hands and just fall lifeless to the ground was incredible. And I don't know if that's all real-time gameplay or if it just kind of takes over a little bit at that point. Sometimes in those games, cinematics kind of take over a little bit in your gameplay, and you could kind of pan the camera around a little bit. But fuck, I mean, if there's a hostage-taking mechanic in this game and it ends like that, man, that's fucking crazy and cool. And then there was the moment when she was in that really difficult pinch, like we were saying. She's in a fucking, like, convenience store surrounded by, like, fucking, like, 8 different people looking for her, and doesn't really have much margin for error as far as hiding goes. And she kind of goes in between that aisle, right? There's like that gap in the aisle and catches the attention of one of the people and gets them to turn around, and then like immediately turns around and just fucking ices the one person, and then comes around backwards in the aisle where the person's still looking where they heard the initial sound, and then just comes up behind them and just fucking like totally decapitates them or whatever the fuck she did to him. But I was just like, holy fucking shit, dude.
She takes a couple bullets and stuff, like, later when she's running outside, like, either right before or right after, she crawls. I like that she could crawl under vehicles, because I think that's something that's underutilized in games, especially if they want to get more realistic.
Check this out, man, because this is total survival, and this isn't a horror game, but there were a lot of times in Last of Us where I was legitimately fucking scared. You know what I mean? Because you're low on ammo, and you got a fucking group of fucking guys looking for you, and you have to use stealth, and I think in a lot of stealth situation games, you're kind of at the edge of your seat and kind of palm sweating and shit like that, because one mistake, and you're fucked. You know what I mean? And that definitely was shown in this trailer. But this is what I meant when I kind of went out and went off against games like Outlast, where you can hide under beds or crawl underneath cars or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? But in this game, you could totally defend yourself if someone finds you down there. And in Outlast, you just can't. And it always just pissed me off. You know what I mean? So that was the thing there. But anyways, Miles, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it was good. I mean, I was watched a lot of trailers. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. I noticed there's a lot of random games. Well, not a lot. There's like 3, huge big budget games that are all based in feudal Japan.
I watched the trailer. I watched the trailer for Ghost of Tsushima, and there were a couple things about it that I was kind of iffy about. But then a couple things about that I was like, okay, this may be cool. Because I love feudal Japan. I love samurais and shit like that. My favorite anime of all time is Rurouni Kenshin, despite the child pornography controversy. By the way, it is back, but nobody's translating it except for one obscure guy on Facebook. Thank you, obscure guy on Facebook, for translating that manga for me. Everybody else is against it. But anyways, Ghost of Tsushima looked cool. The graphics were really good. They made the mistake of showing this trailer directly following Last of Us 2.
It looks so. The biggest problem with Sony's E3 stuff is that Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, and Last of Us all are third-person adventure games and open-world things where they're focusing on wide-open shots for the most part. Not so much Last of Us, because it's a much better put-together trailer and presentation, but they're almost interchangeable in a sense. Like, one's feudal Japan, one's sci-fi, one's post-apocalyptic, but they're all very similar styles of gameplay. And I think if I had to watch all 3 of those presentations in a row, I would be like, this is almost the same game with a new coat of paint. You know what I mean?
Well, the open world thing is a huge trend right now. I mean, even Zelda picked it up, even though Zelda's technically pretty much been open world this whole time. They've just expanded the map.
It's non-linear now.
It's non-linear open world now. But, my thing with Ghost of Tsushima is that it directly followed up The Last of Us, which is like you have no chance, basically, at this point. The trailer seemed a lot more cinematic other than the parts that were obviously pre-rendered cutscene. And then I was like, but I'm still intrigued at this point, right? Because I'm like, open world samurai game. I can totally fuck with this because I love samurai. Then the combat happened, and it just seemed so fucking mash square over and over again that I was like, man, you better do something about this, because if the combat isn't like an in-depth fun system with like a clear like progress like kind of chain that you got going on, like a cool skill tree and shit like that, and just like a nice combat where, no 2 fights really feel the same, and it's really fun and stuff like that, not repetitive. Just don't make it repetitive. Then this would be a good game. But that's not the impression that I got from this trailer. It felt like it could be really repetitive, and I hope that I'm wrong because I'm intrigued by an open world samurai.
Well, did you see the game that From Software is putting out? You know, the creators of Dark Souls and Bloodborne.
I heard that they're putting something out, but I didn't see the trailer.
It's literally it's a feudal Japan like action RPG, but there's a lot more like I don't know if there's supernatural characters. Well, I mean, obviously, like I forget the actual full title. It's something like don't quote me, sorry, podcast. Like Shenriki Shadows Die Twice or something.
We're quoting you later, buddy. Next week we're quoting this.
But it's basically a super gory feudal Japan fighting samurais, but you're fighting possessed creatures like you're some nomad samurai. And I watched that trailer first. So I watched this badass trailer first, and then I watch Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm like, but I just watched that, but it looked more in depth and way more badass. He cut a giant like ogre in fucking half.
Here's my thing. I'm going to stop you right there. Here's my thing with that, though, is that I really like the kind of more grounded thing that they do with Ghost of Tsushima, because there's a lot of samurai games out there that it's like, okay, cool, samurai game, like Genma Onimusha, for example, but you're fighting demons and everything, and I really like the idea of this samurai versus samurai, actual feudal Japan combat, but and like, I don't know if you played these series of games back on PS2, and there's even one on PS3.
I was going to bring this up. I already know what you're bringing up, but go ahead.
Way of the Samurai.
Yeah, I played Way of the Samurai. Was it maybe 2?
Way of the Samurai 2 is good, but they kind of dragged the campaign out to the point where it's like the replay value kind of went down a little bit, because the first one, the game spanned over the course of, 3 days. And over those 3 days, you had to make your decisions and everything, and it would affect the outcome of the game. You know what I mean? And so there were 6 or 7 different endings in this game. And so the replay value was extremely high because it wasn't that hard, it wasn't that time consuming to get all these endings, but it was, and you can play out all these different scenarios. And that's the way the game is in Way of the Samurai 2 as well, but I think they upped it to about 12 different endings now, but the game takes place over the course of anywhere, I think, between like 7 to like 15 or 20 days, like go on time, just doing one game playthrough. So to get all different endings would be extremely time-consuming task. But anyways, Way of the Samurai 2. And did you like it?
I liked it a lot. It was one of those games I feel like I played just in between 2 really, really amazing games. I like Way of the Samurai. I'm not saying it's not amazing, but you know what I mean? Like 2 outrageously memorable games. So it's really hard for me. I can see visuals in my head. I remember playing it, but it wasn't super standout. I think, like I said, just basically because I played in between 2 other games, but I did really enjoy it, and I wanted to play. The third one was on PS3, right?
Yeah, it was either a PS3 or either the fourth one might have been on PS3. I think they got up to 4.
Did they get up to 4?
I'm pretty sure I have the most recent one on PS3. And, like, again, it's really cool, but the campaign could go on and on. You know what I mean? The first one, man, I was obsessed. I loved that game. And, I mean, this may be because this was, like, when I was at, like, my peak, like, watching Rurouni Kenshin and stuff like that. But I just loved playing out the different scenarios. And one of the things about these games that made it so cool, even though it was just a kind of like a bash square, but there was also the triangle for like kind of the thrust attack and stuff, and there was a bunch of different attacks and button combos you could do, is that each sword that you got had different stats and it had a different style. One was like the lower style, upper style. mid style. In the second Way of the Samurai, I think there was a 2-sword style. You could get swords, and there was like a long sword style. I think you could kill the blacksmith. You could kill pretty much everyone in this game. And it would affect your ending. It was kind of GTA in that respect, is that you could basically kill whoever you want and do whatever you want almost. But there was different styles, so the sword fighting never really felt shallow at the time for PS2. Now they're still pretty much implementing that same system in Way of the Samurai 4. And, I'm playing one campaign of, fucking, it was one, 30-hour campaign with, I think at this point they have, 25 different endings, you know what I mean? And games have advanced at this point to the point where if I'm just pressing square and triangle in relation to a directional button, it's gotten kind of shallow at this point. But at that time, it wasn't a shallow experience, and I still kind of regard that first Way of the Samurai game really highly. And that kind of samurai on samurai, no supernatural element was just really fucking cool. And that's what I like about the Ghost of Tsushima trailer. But if they can't get the combat right, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But the same also applies to your killing demons thing, too. If they don't get the combat right, that's going to suck, too. You know what I mean?
I'll probably try both games, I mean, I don't think neither of them were like, oh my god, I have to have this day of,
None of them were The Last of Us in that respect, where it was like an, oh my god, I can't wait. This, but also, they also don't have the benefit of coming after, being a sequel to one of the most highly regarded games of the past decade.
Right. Buddy, any other trailers you liked or any other games you liked coming out of E3?
Nothing that we haven't really touched upon already. I'm intrigued. I forget what the game's called, but it's the one where it's Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball Z.
Jump Force, yeah.
Because I know those are really big in Japan, so I'm intrigued by that.
Well, I actually have J-Stars, which is basically it's like a sequel to J-Stars, Jump Force is. Okay. So it's like a Shonen Jump crossover. It's got Goku, Vegeta, and One Piece and all that stuff. I have it, and it's pretty...
It's okay. Yeah, like it's not like something I gotta rush.
It's not like a deep combat experience or anything like that, but I hear that kind of like Smash Brothers and stuff like that, it's fun to play with other people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jump Force could be a fun multiplayer game. I'm interested in it just because I'm a weeaboo, basically. Did you watch the Jump Force trailer, Miles?
I did not. No. There's a few other games I stuck to.
Here's one I want to bring up to you. Cyberpunk 2077 looks very promising.
That's another one where I've read about that game for a long time because, to my knowledge, that's the game I'm thinking about. It's been delayed a few times.
Did you see, during the conference when they were talking about it?
No, I didn't.
So it was like Xbox's conference.
I want to bring up conferences eventually in this and talk about how kind of E3 is getting a little bit too big for its britches.
Literally, they were about to end the press conference, and the dude for Xbox is talking. He's like, "All right, everyone, I'll see you later. Thanks for showing up." And then all of a sudden, the screen's go black and start glitching, and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And then it plays the trailer for.
Oh my god. There's so many cringy E3 things. It's kind of become a meme on the internet now that every year they kind of compile the cringe moments in E3. But regardless, I'm really interested in this trailer, even though we didn't really see much gameplay. Apparently the trailer, it says in the corner that all the footage from the trailer is run with the game engine, but, isn't exactly gameplay from the looks of it. It's done by the creators of The Witcher 3. It's done by that same team.
Oh, yeah.
And they said that it's going to be RPG first, first-person shooter second. So, I mean, this idea of kind of a cyberpunk, open-world, first-person RPG is really exciting to me. And the way that it, was kind of presented in the trailer, man, was really, Ghost in the Shell. You know what I mean? Did you
Well,
get?
that's what they recently had Detroit Becoming Human come out, and I actually really want to play that, and I feel like that.
I heard it got shit reviews. I heard. I don't want to be. I'm not confirming that, but I heard that the reviews were pissed.
But the dude who did Heavy Rain, he did Indigo Prophecy way back on PS2, which I really like. He did Beyond Two Souls. I haven't played that, but I want
Willem
to play
Dafoe
that.
and Ellen Page. Yeah, man. Anyways, go on, Miles. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, I'll have to watch that trailer. That was one I missed. I watched Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I wasn't impressed. I mean, it looks like a Tomb Raider game. It said Devil May Cry 5.
I'm sure. Hey, just for what it's worth, I'm sure Shadow of the Tomb Raider is going to be really fucking good. Because from what I understand, the previous two Tomb Raider games that have come out and this kind of reimagining have both been really good.
Yeah, I want to play. I'd like to play all of them, but like the trailer and everything wasn't really like, you know what I mean? You know, you watch
It's a Tomb Raider trailer. You know what I mean? It's a Tomb Raider trailer. Yeah. How hyped can you get at this point? You know what a Tomb Raider game entails, and you're just kind of like, okay, just put the fucking game out. You know what I mean? Like, I like Tomb Raider. I want to play it. I don't really need all this. Just say it's coming out and when it's coming out. Maybe a little bit of gameplay in there so I can make sure that it's still kind of going with the thing. But you know what I mean? It's not going to be anything to blow you away.
I'll finish up on my things from E3. The other trailer I was most excited was Metro Exodus. But I'm a huge Metro series fan. I think it's one of the best first-person shooter games out. I'm actually shocked they did a third game. Especially with the storyline they're going, comes out in February, so it looks between Resident Evil 2 and Metro Exodus. I'm going to have a lot of shit to play beginning of next year. The thing I was least excited about was
Halo Infinite.
What's that?
Halo Infinite.
Didn't even watch the trailer for that, but
it's worth mentioning. It's worth mentioning that none of us on this podcast play Xbox, but we will mention Halo Infinite as a major announcement from the Microsoft press conference.
I know they announced, Gears of War 5, but has anyone even cared in like 10 years? They all look the fucking same.
Well, Gears of War is fun. It's fun. I played the first one. I beat the first one co-op with my ex-girlfriend's brother.
There you go. Death Stranding, though. Least excited about that game. And considering it's from the creators
I think you're just pissed because Norman Reedus is doing that instead of the new Silent Hill game that got canceled.
Well, regardless, from the creator of Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill, I don't know. I didn't think it just didn't live up to what I imagined the potential it could be. I don't know if either of you guys have watched the trailer.
I got bored with the trailer and turned it off. I'll say that.
Okay, so there we go. We're in agreement. So I'm done. Those are my E3. Really excited for Last of Us 2, Resident Evil 2, Metro Exodus. I'm excited for games this next year, so I'm done on that part.
I will bring up Fallout 76. And Miles, I think you said that you might get it and actually play online with me.
I think I might do that, yes.
Because you've never played a Fallout game before, and I mean, I suggest picking up Fallout 4, honestly.
I've always wanted to play the series. It's kind of one of those, in the same regard as BioShock. I've never played any of the BioShock games, and I've always wanted to.
I feel like you would really... I haven't played BioShock, but I feel like at least the first two you would really like, since they're more horror-themed.
Yeah, I know I would love Fallout. I've wanted to play Fallout since Fallout 3, but there's only so much time, especially as we get older. Like, I can't play all these just all the trailers I watched at E3. I'm like, I'll never play like fucking 10 of these games. I don't have time for this shit, you know?
I'm excited about Fallout 76. Hopefully we'll be playing it together when it comes out, but it looks cool. I watched a little bit of the gameplay. It looks like a Fallout game. Let's see here. What do you have anything to bring up?
No, not anything.
Okay,
else.
Then I'll just keep going. Shut the fuck up. Miles is like, I want to go to bed, cat.
I'm on phone. Everything's falling apart. I can't look at anyone's mouth and cues. I mean, we're just.
Oh God, I actually had some other things. Spider-Man trailer didn't excite me.
It looked like a Spider-Man game.
It looked like a Spider-Man game, and it didn't look like a particularly good one.
On like all the lists I saw, that was like ranked like in the top like 2 trailers people thought were like the best trailers, and I didn't see what was so special about it.
It just looked like a Spider-Man game trailer, and it did not look as good. I think the last really good Spider-Man games that came out was like what, Shattered Dimensions, and then like the sequel to that. So I mean,
the Spider-Man franchise has had a lot of balls in video games.
It's also had a lot of really good video games. I would say that the Spider-Man franchise has had some of the best superhero video games out of any other franchise.
I agree. They've had some of the best storyline video games.
But it does not have the best. I said some of the best.
No.
The best goes to the Arkham trilogy. Hands down, it's not even up for debate. I know you're going to want to debate that, Miles. It's not up for debate.
No, I can't debate it because I've never played the Arkham trilogy.
You need to fucking play the Arkham trilogy, bro. You have a PS3. Fucking play that shit.
My PS3 is actually shit on me right now. I have to send it. I think the power supply is gone, but it's not a story. It's just a sad thing.
It's all, you know what? It's all HD re-released on PS4.
Well, one of these days, when one of these like IGN or Kotaku or someone hires me,
it was actually just on sale as a best of E3 sale in the PS4 store. The first 2 Arkham games for remastered for PS4 was just on sale on the PlayStation store. I don't know if it still is. That's a cheap plug for the PlayStation Store.
I was going to say, commercial break number 3.
So many sponsors on this podcast. We should be raking in millions right now.
Yeah, we're going to be singing all the way to the bank, baby. But, I mean, so the Spider-Man trailer looked average. God, there was something else that really got my attention, but I guess I just can't really think of it right now. I mean, it's worth mentioning that they announced the other some new Elder Scrolls games,
5,
Elder Scrolls 6.
6.
Elder Scrolls 6, and then Elder Scrolls Blades, which will be mobile, but they're also looking to integrate it into every console, I guess. I wonder how that's going to work. Like shit.
What's the other one? Like the space something?
Starfield. They finally made a Starfield game.
Yeah.
I want to play that really badly, but they already, as they announced it, they're like, oh, by the way, this will be one of the first PS5 and next-gen Xbox games. So it's like, as soon as they said that, I was like, oh, cool, I'll play it in 2020. That's fine. Like, I pretty much just shut my brain off after they said that.
I want to say that there were a couple of good games this year that really caught my interest, but all in all, E3 was a huge disappointment this year. I don't think any of the major gaming companies really delivered. I think they all failed to deliver any really huge announcements besides Halo Infinite, which, by the way, I think we all remember how hype Halo was when we were in high school.
I was a bit younger, but yes.
You were probably in junior high.
When I remember like Halo 2 was like at its peak when I was in like
exactly.
fifth
When
grade.
Halo 2 came out, that shit was fucking hype. Everyone was talking about it, and like even I didn't have an Xbox, and I was still talking to people about this game, and I didn't even really like it, but it was super hype. Halo has lost a lot of momentum, and Bungie doesn't even develop these games anymore. Bungie doesn't even develop these games anymore, but they still come out with solid Halo games. I just don't think it's ever going to reach the height that it did with Halos 1, 2, and 3.
Well, Call of Duty's kind of taken over the first-person reign.
That's even on its way down now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
They need to get the next. I guess what's the next? Destiny? I don't know.
Destiny's lost momentum already.
It died after like
huge disappointment with like the first DLC pack of Destiny 2. I think.
Well, I always thought I played Destiny 1.
that game got sort of
2 hours. I thought it was like, wow, this is generic and terrible. I don't even want to play this.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it was terrible. I played the main campaign of the original release, none of the DLC, and I thought it was fine. But
was the story good though? That's the thing that gets me with it, because I played first-person shooters, so if the story's not good,
well, it's an MMO. It's an MMO, Miles. So the story is kind of secondary. But I'm not really sure. I mean, this is old news. I feel like Destiny failed to live up to a lot of people's expectations because they announced it as a much more ambitious project than it ended up being.
Fable? It must be the Fable of this generation.
Well, Fable, was it Fable 3 that really shit the bed on them at that time? Because Fable 1 and 2...
I remember the second one was still a hit, but I think the third one kind of fell off.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think that a lot of the major companies really failed to deliver a major announcement. Even Sony, they did their fucking Last of Us Part 2. That game's already been announced.
Yeah,
so they showed us a gameplay trailer, but this wasn't like a mind-blowing thing other than the fact that the gameplay looked so beautiful.
Sony said they were bringing 4 games, and they brought those 4 games and showed the gameplay. So there were no announcements. It was just showing the games working, which is cool, but you're not going to stir up a lot of excitement.
Yeah, there's not much hype in that. I mean, Elder Scroll, Microsoft failed to deliver, aside from Halo and Gears of War, a major kind of like announcement other than those. And I'm not even sure if those were. I'm not even sure if those were announced or not beforehand.
I think Resident Evil 2 was the biggest announcement for me. Besides, I guess some people would say Fallout was a huge announcement, which it was, but Resident Evil 2 had been confirmed in development, but there had actually been no footage, no anything. So Resident Evil 2, maybe for some people, Devil May Cry 5, because there was no announcement for that. So if anything, from the biggest company, Capcom threw 2 bombs down, but no one else threw anything that wasn't announced.
Well, you know what, though? Capcom's sort of on life support right now, weren't they? So, like, they kind of have to swing for the fences a lot of the time.
It's crazy that they're on life support, because they're still one of the companies that sells 1 million to 4 million games per their main titles. But I think maybe, I don't know, maybe they're just overspending. I'm not really sure, in all honesty.
Well, I know one particular company that really flopped was Square Enix.
That's the consensus for everyone.
Square Enix hasn't done a presser at E3 for 3 years, and then last month announced that they were going to do a major press conference at E3 and hyped this shit up. And then did the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer that was already played the day before at the Microsoft press conference.
Yeah.
And then they also did like a sequel.
The Tomb Raider trailer, like the Tomb Raider working.
Wasn't that game already announced?
Oh yeah, it was way announced, but no one really.
They didn't do any major. The 2 games that weren't announced before, they literally just announced them and showed barely anything. They showed 2 teasers for those games, so we have no idea what these games really even are. They're both new franchises. Okay, so there was no. Let's keep in mind, the last time Square Enix had a major press conference at E3, they announced the Final Fantasy VII Remake, one of the most anticipated games in probably game history. People were anticipating this game well before it was even ever officially announced.
Yeah.
They did a tech demo for this game, and people have been hyping this game. Even though they were told that this game was never going to come out, people were still hyping it. Oh, it's going to come out. You know what I mean? People were still hyped for this. So that was a huge fucking announcement 3 years ago at that press conference. And then they did this press conference and there was nothing. So Square Enix absolutely fucking shit the bed. In my opinion, Sony shit the bed. They didn't announce anything major. They showed us some good gameplay and everything, but they, like you said, they didn't show anything that blew me away. I guess Microsoft probably won because they did make those 2 major announcements. Halo Infinite and Gears of War 5. Because Nintendo Nintendo really fucking shit the bed. Nintendo's press conference fucking sucked, man. I was fucking hyped for this, but come on. No fucking Zelda sequel, no Metroid Prime, no major Mario title. You know what I mean? You just fucking spent
Talked about Smash
2 hours basically talking about Super Smash Brothers, a game that you already announced earlier this year. I was watching the live stream and the comments below were literally just like, that's it?
Yeah.
The entire time. Like, that's it? We already knew Super Smash Bros. Was happening. Like, why are we talking about this so much?
And everyone's going to get it anyway, so you
Yeah,
don't need to spend 2 hours on it.
You put so much money into promoting this game that basically all of your Switch users are basically guaranteed buying anyways. So
I think from an objective standpoint, I think Ubisoft actually had the most well-rounded presentation.
well, actually, what I get on the internet is that Bethesda or however you pronounce it,
Bethesda, yeah.
the general consensus is that they fucking blew everyone away.
Well, they announced, and I still haven't watched them, and the game I always wanted to play was Rage. They announced Rage 2, the new Doom sequel, and then obviously the other, Elder Scrolls Fallout and that. So I think probably overall they did. I think in regards to most different games per announcements, I think Ubisoft did a good job because they announced a series I don't care about but makes them a ton of money. The Assassin's Creed games. They announced Beyond Good and Evil 2. They had a new Just Dance game, which is funny, but people buy that shit.
That's gonna bring in the dollars.
They had a VR, some sort of horror VR game. I didn't watch the trailer because I'm not going to play VR, but I
You're
heard
too
it
scared.
looked great. And they announced Skull and Bones, which I watched the working trailer of that, which is like a weird pirate RPG where you can upgrade your pirate ship, but you also, you fight pirate ships in battles, but all the pirate ships have levels. But you use certain, tactics to actually, board the ships. It's pretty fucking cool. I know they spent a lot of money on it. But it was I watched that trailer today, actually, because I was curious about the game, and it's pretty cool. But I think as far as well-rounded genres of games, I think Ubisoft probably had the most well-rounded.
Well, everyone's going for this open world thing right now, which, I mean, I can't really complain about because I love open world.
Yeah.
But let's talk about presentation real quick. Yeah, I know you didn't watch any of the press conferences, Miles, but this is kind of a thing. We kind of foreshadowed it earlier with kind of like the cringy moments of E3. Let's talk about how much money that Sony spent on their press conference. Basically, their press conference, they used, I think, 3 or 4 different fucking, areas. They rented out different areas and had their audience move to each area for each trailer. And each trailer was preceded by a musical performance by just some sort of artist. Like the Last of Us trailer was preceded by some guy that was playing a kind of a banjo guitar thingy. And then the Ghost of Tsushima trailer was preceded by a white man in traditional Japanese garb, playing a traditional Japanese wind flute, or whatever that thing's called. Some different cultural appropriation there. And then I didn't get into the other ones. I'm not sure if Death Stranding had a musical performance at the beginning or not, but you spend all this money.
It's just so goofy.
It's just so cringy. It's not at all what people are there to see. You're just wasting everyone's time. You're wasting your money. You know what I mean? And I feel like E3 is kind of evolving into where these developers and stuff are starting to feel like these rock stars when they go out on the stage. It really seems that way. Have you seen some of these?
Oh, I agree. It's just
some
ridiculous.
of these clips, where fucking dudes will come out of developers, these suit and tie guys that nobody knows, nobody cares about. The only reason why they're important is that they're about to tell us about these games that we want. You know what I mean? The only one that should even feel remotely like a rock star is Miyamoto and Kojima and Reggie.
Sure, he doesn't develop anything, but he talks about it.
But people know who he is, and I think there's a whole thing with Reggie. So those guys should feel like rock stars, and I think Kojima is actually considered a rock star in the gaming community.
Yeah.
But like these suit and tie guys that nobody cares about, and they'll always come out. They'll always try and get the crowd pumped up, and it's just so awkward because they're always just like, "Yeah, come on!" And there'll be like 2 people clapping in the
Yeah.
crowd. One of the funny moments and awkward moments in the press conference was when they announced the Battlefield 5 multiplayer, and then they announced that it's going to be Battle Royale format. Oh, I wonder where they got that idea from.
Oh.
There was audible booing in the crowd when they announced it. Oh, man. So it's just kind of like this thing it's happening right now where it's just totally unnecessary. And it's just kind of like, man, just come out and tell me about the game. You know what I mean? Some of the new technology that you're implementing and stuff. And then show us the trailer.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. And all these gimmicks and stuff are just not necessary. I think one of the conferences, I don't know who it was, probably fucking Rockstar Games or whatever, and some guy drove down to the fucking stage.
See AAA. I see the hand movement.
On a motorcycle, and he's wearing the whole Daredevil fucking Evil Knievel outfit and everything, and then he gets up on the stage and accidentally, quote unquote, trips and falls into the podium, and it all falls apart, and he sells it for 3 minutes and everything, and just it's too gimmicky at this point, man. Just show us some fucking game trailers.
I agree.
So, should we transition then? Closing Money in the Bank is this weekend.
Money in the Bank is this weekend. NXT TakeOver Chicago is this weekend. I still have to watch NXT for this week. Miles, I know the answer to this question. Which show are you more excited about?
Actually, this is hard.
I don't know the answer to this question.
Well, I think Money in the Bank. I think the women's Money in the Bank match is going to be better than I've expected. The men's Money in the Bank match has enough talent in it to just blow the roof off the place if they book it right and they do the spots right. And then I'm assuming this is the final Styles and Nakamura match. I could be wrong.
If Nakamura wins, you're definitely wrong, and I'm already hearing rumors that they're doing Styles Nakamura 6 at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, that was the headline
I'm
yesterday.
assuming that I'm probably wrong, but still, I'm assuming this is going to be the match. This is going to be the best match of the feud, and it's finally going to headline a pay-per-view because there's nothing else worthy. My
Big
prediction...
Dog's not headlining?
He's facing Jinder Mahal.
And that's their 2 top guys.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no, just so my prediction is maybe possibly Joe wins Money in the Bank and cashes
That's
in.
your heart. That's your heart talking. That's your heart
That
talking.
is my heart talking. But the only problem is Joe has had the best booking in the company besides Strowman for the past year to not have won a title. Reigns has won titles, Rollins, stuff like that. The only other 2 guys that are basically when am I going to win the title, some title, is Joe and Strowman. They've been, for the most part, not protected. Strowman way more protected, but Joe has only lost a few matches, and fucking 2 of them have been to Reigns, and he's beaten Reigns twice and had a count out the other time. I think he's lost clean. He technically lost clean with interference last week on SmackDown to Rusev, which was, I was shocked, but Miz was special guest referee and fucked him up. It was good storytelling. One of the better SmackDown matches in regards to storytelling in a while. A much better Money in the Bank build than what Raw has been doing. Raw has been it's at an all-time low right now. I can barely fucking watch it. But,
I saw that they opened Raw with like literally everyone standing on ladders. They had
The men and women were
they
all-
had like 3,000 ladders set up in the ring, and like people were just standing on them.
And there was a bald Baron Corbin.
bad.
I will say this about Baron Corbin bald, and it gives me hope as a man losing his hair, is he looks much better
It's
without
a
hair.
wasted potential for a hair versus
No,
hair match,
I
brother.
agree. He should have had a hair versus hair match before that happened. But that being said, he looks way fucking better bald than he did with that sad excuse of
Whatever it was.
yeah.
Well, right now the booking on Raw is just it's at an all-time low. I don't even know. No one looks good besides Rollins, which is awesome. But you have a roster of 30 to 40 other men and women that are trying, and the promos are terribly written. No one's getting over. They've made Owens basically a spot where he stands there and lets Braun Strowman knock him over, and he sells it great. Sami Zayn and Lashley are in one of the worst feuds of the past few years. It's fucking hilarious. Like, I don't care who wins that match. They're both fucking losers. I mean, I don't understand. I'm pretty sure Sami Zayn said basically he's going to butt fuck him or something last week, but they changed the words. They had an obstacle course. I'm not really sure who's writing this. I'm pretty sure the writers in the back are like, let's see who can write a worse Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley segment. And maybe Vince will give one of us an award or something, because the whole fucking thing has been one of the worst feuds easily since I've been watching Raw again for the past 5 years consistently. But it's terrible. Right now the booking's terrible. They're burying most of their undercard and midcard. Reigns is coming out and crying. I guess Mahal's flexing his tits. Rollins comes out, puts on match of the night every night, and goes back, and then probably just seriously laughs because how much better compared to the rest of the roster. But watching SmackDown and Raw right now is just so different, more different than I think it's ever been in the past couple of years.
Do you think this is the big thought for me? Do you think that they're ever going to push Daniel Bryan back to that main event level?
They will. They're gonna do that slow burn. Well, there's a little bit of a spoiler, and we'll see if it's true. So, WWE is doing a Japanese tour this summer. It's the first Japanese tour they've done in a while.
So Nakamura's winning the belt, is what you're saying.
Probably.
I mean, that's how they do that. If he doesn't win the belt for a goddamn Japanese tour, then what the fuck? Not to mention someone else in a title match right now, Asuka against Carmella, which if she loses that match, what the fuck?
If she loses, I'm honestly, the women, I'm so done with the women's division right now, I don't even want to fucking talk about it. The whole thing is fucking garbage. They've ruined every character. Charlotte's the only one I remotely like. Becky Lynch has been buried to nothing.
You don't like Asuka anymore?
What's that?
You don't like Asuka anymore?
No, I like Asuka, but if she doesn't win this match on Sunday,
She's dead.
It's ridiculous. It's the worst booking they've had in months. I mean,
Worst booking since she tapped at WrestleMania?
well, who else was going to beat Asuka? Let's just be honest.
But listen to this hypothetical scenario that I laid out on the fucking podcast. Is if you wanted to make Charlotte look strong, then you have Asuka win at that WrestleMania and keep their feud going until, I mean, this is what I said, because people were like, oh, we don't want Carmella to cash in on Asuka. Have Asuka beat her. Asuka's fucking unstoppable at this point, right? She was undefeated. She beats Charlotte via pinfall or whatever, and then Charlotte has a storyline for the rest of the year to build up to until probably around the Royal Rumble, where she finally overcomes Asuka. as opposed to ending one of the longest win streaks in wrestling to nothing. There was nothing. There was no build up to that. It came out of nowhere. It was fucking terrible. And then Asuka drops the belt 2 nights later anyways. You know what I mean? Charlotte drops the belt 2 nights later anyways.
The women's division hasn't really been good since, I think the last great women's division match in WWE was Sasha versus Charlotte Falls Count Anywhere match at Raw, December 2016. I think 2017 for the most part was a terrible year for the women's division. I think in regards to storytelling and wrestling, that Falls Count Anywhere match at the end of 2016 was literally the pinnacle of the division.
I wouldn't say it was a terrible year because they finally got their own Royal Rumble, which was
there were a lot of firsts. Okay, there were a lot of firsts, but in regards to
that also seems gimmicky at this point too. It seems like the company's really just like kind of like patting themselves on the back, like look at us doing all these firsts for the women.
That's what I think in regards to storytelling. Good feuds, good matches. I think the 3.5-month Charlotte versus Sasha feud, and also the women's title changing hands on Raw a couple times, and I think it just hit that peak, and no one else so far has lived up to it, which is not really necessarily their fault. We all know Asuka could live up to it, but they're not booking her right, and they're not giving her the right opponents.
Well, that's the problem.
To have great matches.
A huge thing about WrestleMania is that most people thought that the best match of the night, until the finish, there was always that huge asterisk, but most of the experts thought that the best match of the night, the best wrestled match of the night, was Asuka versus Charlotte. 2 people that had incredible chemistry in the ring, and then that finish just out of nowhere. They weren't given enough time. They were given like 12 minutes, still put on the best match of the night, and then that finish happened.
Yeah.
Whereas my thing was, man, that doesn't even make Charlotte look that good, in my opinion. And now she has nothing to do. She's literally treading water on SmackDown right now. She's not doing anything.
The whole SmackDown women's division is treading water. I forgot.
She's
until
not
this
doing
show.
anything. She's in the Money in the Bank match, which she's not going to win because they're not going to put her in a position to win the belt on nefarious means like that if they're building towards her and Ronda Rousey. And by having Asuka defeat Charlotte at WrestleMania, you have boosted Asuka, right? And made her a worthy opponent. Now, when they do their rematch, turn Asuka heel, have Asuka cheat to retain the belt. Charlotte was right there. But now Charlotte's at the back of the line. Charlotte's working her way back up until probably the Royal Rumble, while Asuka is a dominant champion throughout the calendar year. And then Charlotte finally overcomes the obstacle that's been fucking with her all year, is this fucking bitch Asuka that's been beating ass all year. Charlotte finally makes her tap out at the Royal Rumble. It's a huge moment. Asuka looks like a dominant champion for a year. She's been elevated. Charlotte is elevated because she just beat somebody that has been a huge obstacle for her a whole year. Not, I beat the only person that could have remotely been a challenge for me on my first fucking try. That's a terrible fucking story. You beat her on your first try. That doesn't boost Charlotte at all. And her going into her match with Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania this year, she's gained nothing from that victory over Asuka.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then she dropped the belt to Carmella 2 days later.
AKA the women's division is pure. It's honestly.
It was counterproductive. The whole explanation for that booking was they're trying to make Charlotte look strong for the main event next year. Well, you didn't do a very good job, and I'm not a wrestling booker or expert, and I'm not claiming that it's easy or anything, but I tell you what right now, and I bet you anyone that I fucking met, if I looked at them and gave that scenario, they'd be like, damn, Charlotte comes out of that looking a whole lot fucking better at the end of the road. She looks a lot better when you think long term with that storyline.
And even at Mania, like right after the match, like there wasn't even much celebrating because then they had to start selling that Cena Undertaker thing. So.
Oh my god.
Anyways, Miles, you haven't told me what show you're more excited about: Takeover or Money in the Bank?
Well, so I'm still a couple weeks behind on NXT, but honestly, besides the obvious Gargano and Ciampa build, I feel like this has been a weaker takeover build than a lot of them. Do you feel the same, Jared, or no? Am I wrong?
The main event doesn't appeal to me.
Gargano and Ciampa?
No, the title.
Gargano and Ciampa are going out.
Ciampa are going to make
They're going to go out. They're definitely going out last.
The title match.
They've been the focus of the storytelling for the past few weeks. They've literally interrupted other people's matches to continue their program.
They're on the poster. The poster for Takeover is half-face Ciampa, half-face Gargano.
Yeah,
so
they're the main event. That's the reason why Aleister Black is facing Lars Sullivan, because they want to give Lars Sullivan that exposure, but it's also kind of a holdover feud while they do this non-title feud in the main event. So they're doing something a little bit less for the title picture to kind of keep it down, because nobody cares about the title picture right now.
It really depends on booking which show I like more.
I think that, here's the thing. The booking could be really good at Money in the Bank, and the matches could be really good. But they could also be total shit, and are more likely to be total shit than NXT TakeOver Chicago. I think that even Black Sullivan is going to be good. I think it's going to exceed expectations.
Sullivan's doing pretty good for a big guy. He has the generic storyline. That's not his fault, 'cause that's how they set it up. That he's that big guy who just wants to be wild and win a belt. But it'll be a good, entertaining match. I mean, probably a match quality. NXT TakeOver will be better. Clearly, they'll have better time.
Miles, you forgot one match that the build hasn't been like as good as Gargano and Ciampa, but to me, I'm the second most excited about this match, mostly because of the in-ring talent involved, but also the story that they told over the course of 2 weeks was actually enough to get me like, okay, I really want to see this match. Is Ricochet versus Velveteen Dream.
Oh, Ricochet and Velveteen Dream, yeah, that could easily be one of the matches of the fucking weekend. I mean, those two, both of them, if they are booked right, and if they cannot take them away from NXT too quick, the hype for those guys going to main roster, both of them could be next level. I know Ricochet wants to put on more weight. He's been trying to put on more weight for a little while because he doesn't want to be pigeonholed into the 205 weight class. He's a little bit shorter, but clearly you look at the guy, he's jacked as fuck. I mean, literally.
He's in tremendous physical condition. I was just telling Buddy the other day that if I do go to wrestling school, is that I would kind of want to emulate Ricochet's look and kind of be like jacked like him, so that I could be a heel. Because I'm gonna have to shave my head if I start wrestling, Miles. It's just the sad situation of it.
It is what it is.
Because if I do it, I'm gonna get all sweaty. I'm gonna look like fucking Baron Corbin in the ring, right? So I mean, I gotta shave my head. And so I was telling Buddy that for my but I want to be a heel. How am I going to be a heel if I'm a bald, average-looking dude with an average body? I can't do that. I have to build kind of like a Ricochet body where I'm like pretty fucking ripped. So I have something to be cocky about, and then I can Then I can wear the damn aviator sunglasses down to the ring.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So then I wear the aviator sunglasses, kind of like a fusion of Ricochet and fucking Kenny Omega.
Okay.
Kenny Omega.
Seven star match, Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega, go.
Except I'm not going to be able to do as many flips as either of those guys, and I don't want to either.
Hey,
so
Kenny Omega, though, has had literally some of the best storytelling in wrestling this year. I'm dead serious. His match,
I can't argue that because he's getting good star ratings. I do think that he's probably getting a little overrated.
Okay, but look, the whole failed Bullet Club storyline is separating the spots they've done in all the matches. him getting
They're the
back with
Golden
Kota
Elite
Ibushi,
now.
Golden Elite, him getting back with Kota Ibushi.
I'm happy with that because I fucking love Kota Ibushi. That is my dog.
Them embracing. So the thing is, Young Bucks talked about that they've been literally planning the storyline for 2 years. And when you go through the whole storyline and how meticulous it is, you realize, like, oh, these guys, people call people spot monkeys and stuff. Yeah, they do spots, but these guys still at times do selling. In big matches, they sell. They do stuff. They tell stories. There's a few times, I think my favorite match this year is Golden Lovers versus Young Bucks at one of the New Japan California shows. And there's a scene where, I forget which Jackson brother it is, but, like, Omega's having a hard time fighting these guys because of his friend, and Kota keeps, like, looking at him like, dude, we're in a match. We have to have this fight. Like, he's talking, he's like, this is, like, we have to prove who the best tag team in the world is. And Kenny, like, stops Kota a couple times and is like, dude, you're going too hard. Like, stop. Like, you're taking this personal. And then a couple times when, like, one of the Jackson brothers attacks Kota, and Kenny's, like, physically, like, so upset. You can see it. He's just, like, destroyed. And he looks at one of the Jackson brothers towards the end, and he's going to do the one-winged angel, and one of them just says, do what you have to do, or, like, screams in his face, and he literally just grabs him up, one-wing angels, and wins the fucking match. I mean, it's just, the storytelling between them has just been phenomenal. Sorry, I know I took over for a minute.
No, that's all right. I know you're trying to get that New Japan sponsorship, and we appreciate it. They're making a lot of money right now, and we would like to get in on that little money train.
More money. They've tripled the past 2 years. They keep tripling the revenue every year. So.
And now Chris Jericho is the IWGP Intercontinental Champion.
This is true.
Did you watch the promos for that?
Didn't Jericho get 7 stars for his match too?
No.
He has two 5-star matches now. But Jericho can say fuckface on Japanese television. I didn't think he would do that, but he calls so many people a fuckface. He threw a chair at a reporter, hit him right in the face, threw another camera, and then got into a limo, hung out the limo window, and said, you fucking fuckfaces or something, and flicked him off as he drove out of the arena.
Yeah, I think that people are overhyping that a lot, and because there's this whole thing with, like, kind of the PG era of wrestling now that anytime someone cusses, all of a sudden the promo gets over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude,
Jericho's intensity, though, in all those promos is great, just because...
Well, Jericho's great. I'm not going to undersell Jericho. Jericho's great. Everybody loves Chris Jericho. I'm just saying that everybody makes a big deal out of him cussing, but it's not a big deal to me, especially in Japan, when there aren't really curse words to my knowledge. There really isn't, because, I mean, go back and watch Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z in the original Japanese dub, and they're all fucking bitch, bastard, asshole, and stuff like that. And it's a kid's show. You know what I mean? So, like...
All right. Well, all right. So, I know we've been going in a long time. You guys, did you guys do predictions for Money in the Bank? Because
we did.
A couple out there and be done.
We did ours last week, yeah.
Okay. My predictions storyline-wise, because of how they've sold him and how frustrated he's been visibly on Raw, I think it could be good, but only if the payoff is there at Money in the Bank. I want Bobby Roode to win Money in the Bank. Not just because of how big a Bobby Roode fan I am, because... Sorry, I fucked up. But
yeah, you did. You fucked up when you predicted Bobby Roode.
Well, no, listen. He won the qualifier. He's won a couple matches. But he's also lost a couple matches from Elias cheating, from this or that. They fed him to Strowman, but they fed the whole fucking roster to Strowman, so whatever. He's really frustrated now. His character is visibly frustrated, and he looks, not an underdog, but he looks like the one where he's like, I need to win this match or there's going to be a problem in my career, my WWE career, just visibly with his face and his storytelling. I think... There's already
a problem in his career, and I'll talk about it in a second.
Well, anyways, I think that they're going to probably do the basic WWE thing that they've been doing recently and throw someone who should have won it a year or two ago to win it. So I think probably, Finn Balor or Kevin Owens might win it randomly. But, I want Rude to win in regards to his storytelling leading up to this match. I think it would be the best. I think Joe's storytelling would be good too, but it's pretty much already been confirmed that Joe's going to be in the title picture this summer, if not at SummerSlam.
Is he turning babyface?
Joe?
Yeah.
No, he called on SmackDown when he first got there. He called everyone out and he said he's going to destroy them and tap them out.
But is he turning into like a badass, like Stone Cold babyface? Because if he's in the title picture this summer, and we're presumably saying Nakamura is the champion, and he's obviously a heel.
We'll see. It's the last thing that those Japanese events.
We'll turn him face, about. Man. All we got to do is get Nakamura out there, hit him in the nuts.
The Japanese events I was talking about, the main event of that whole tour is the Fatal 4-Way. It's Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Nakamura versus Joe for the WWE title.
I would love for them to just narrow that down to two guys.
Yeah.
I would love for them to narrow that down to Daniel Bryan versus Nakamura, Joe versus Nakamura, and shit like that. Because Nakamura's got to be in there because they're in Japan.
Right. But those four guys, I'm assuming for the summer in some regard, are going to be in the main event scene, whether titles, whatever, still main event, somewhat main event caliber feuds.
Nakamura's got to win the belt here if he wants to stay in that main event picture because he's been losing, man.
Yeah.
He started that Twitter war with Jeff Hardy, though, and unfortunately Jeff Hardy's an idiot and got convicted of that DUI charge that he had right before he was medically cleared. He's got to do some community service. So
community service doing the job to Nakamura.
If Styles doesn't win, if Nakamura doesn't beat Styles, I'm assuming he might pull Swerve and just literally Nakamura comes out and beats Jeff Hardy for the U.S. title the next night or the week after on SmackDown.
Please fucking kill me. Please fucking kill me. No, he needs to beat AJ Styles. It needs to be done. It needs to be done.
He's been talking shit back and forth with Jeff Hardy online, and unfortunately, you know how WWE is.
No, it needs to. There's nothing. We're not discussing this any further. It's, if Nakamura doesn't fucking win, we are all audibly going to just fucking. Everyone in the world's going to do that.
All right. Well, we've been on the topic. Well, I'm going to say. You're going to hate me when I say it. So the main three matches, I will predict.
Bobby Roode's career is fucked because they brought him to the main roster and started writing promos for him and turned him babyface without a fundamental understanding of what the glorious character actually was. Even though in NXT, when you don't have scripts, and Bobby Roode was probably pitched this character, but actually got to do the character on his own and cut his own promos and understand what his own character was, and then taken to the main roster and just completely stripped down of everything that the character was, and now all that he is literally all he is an entrance now.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. It's terrible. Trust me, it bothers me. I'm going to go for my pick that Rude wins because I want him to win.
That's your heart.
And I think, whatever. I think I think that with his storyline compared to all the other competitors in the match, his storyline building up, he needs to win more than anyone else. I'm going to say a wild card because I think they're going to push her. It seems like they are. I'm going to say Ember Moon wins the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And then I'm going to say, and you're going to be mad at me, I'm going to say...
It's way too soon for Ember Moon.
What's that?
He said it's too soon for Ember Moon.
What did he say again?
He says, see, buddy, this is what's happening. Miles is so not used to you talking that you fucking shell-shocked him when you said something. He said it's too soon for Ember Moon to win the Money in the Bank.
I don't know. She's still undefeated on Raw, at least, which...
So that means a lot. It meant a lot for Asuka.
Well, true. But we'll see. But
that's your prediction, though. How dare you disrespect his prediction, buddy?
I think Vince is going to pull a Vince and let Styles win on Sunday.
God. Oh, I just fucking threw up everywhere. Fuck. Ugh.
I think Nakamura winning Last Man Standing would be incredible, and I'm all for it. But I thought Nakamura might win last month, too, but I don't know.
So I thought he might win at WrestleMania. Yeah. Then I thought he would win every month after that. Ugh. So those are your predictions for Money in the Bank?
I'm going to do Moon, Rude, and Styles. We'll see.
Those are interesting picks. I think that the storyline makes most sense for Balor to win. Honestly, for him to do a kind of like a sort of worked shoot sort of thing. But this is just me booking.
Yeah.
Is that Balor wins the Money in the Bank and then turns heel when he cashes in. Say you're finally your babyface fucking beats Brock Lesnar for the title. Balor comes in and cashes in on that babyface, and then the next day on Raw vents his frustrations about how he's been utilized on the roster. That he was at the top, and then they pulled him.
Never got a rematch.
He got pulled down. He never got his rematch. He's just been treated like shit ever since, and that he's absolutely sick of it. And that's why he turned his back on Seth Rollins when he beats Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. I think that would be a cool story, but I mean, I also agree that they need to do something with Bobby Roode, but at the same time, Bobby Roode's problem isn't that he needs a world title or a briefcase right now. Bobby Roode's problem is that he needs to be given more freedom and more ability to actually convey what his character actually is.
Not even more freedom, but do with him what he was doing already, instead of... Because he's not meant to be a babyface. That character should not be a babyface.
No, the character should never be a babyface. Never in a million years. Okay, in a million years. But after it's already been a heel for a long-ass time. And that it's when he becomes Ric Flair, basically. Which he's not Ric Flair. But at the point where Ric Flair was doing, like, I'm so cocky, I'm so fucking awesome thing so long that
you can't boo him.
Yeah, finally the fans were just like, God damn, man, he is fucking full of swagger and full of shit, man. He's great.
After he fucked 20 women in front of the audience, they're like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, he's definitely our hero and our baby face. All right, well, we've been on way longer than I thought we would. I've attempted to watch some wrestling and catch up on that. I was going to attempt to catch up on NXT, but...
I'm going to go inside and do that. I'm assuming my girlfriend's asleep, so I'm going to make some food and watch this week's NXT.
I'm definitely going to go to sleep after this.
Buddy's pretty tired, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt to finish my the main event of Ring of Honor night, and it revolves. I can't even talk anymore. I'm asleep. Involves Roppongi 3K, which is rare that they're on American television. So I'm going to try to finish this fucking match.
A Ring of Honor plug, buddy.
I know.
We are making mad royalties on this episode.
Seriously, dude. New Japan better give you some fucking money. The Honor Club, New Japan World, whatever. We got to get sponsored by that shit, right?
Yeah, we're definitely...
Yeah, totally.
We're already in contact with those people. All right.
Well, I'm going to sign off. I appreciate you guys having me on again. It was always fun. I'm sorry it was really weird this time because I'm not in person, so I can't get the right kind of breaks in between speaking. So I'm sorry to the viewers. I probably sounded like complete ass and a fucking idiot, but I'm still an expert on horror films. So Midnight Miles is
We need to do a video where we all play the horror trivia
midnight.
game.
What's that?
We all need to do a video where we play the horror trivia game that I got and see who the true expert is.
All right. I'm accepting the challenge right now, live on YouTube, whatever the fuck we're on. I'm accepting Jared's horror movie trivia game challenge, but it's after midnight, which means I probably have to go watch some piece of shit like Amityville Horror 92 or some garbage right now. So I gotta fucking go. But thank you guys again. Always a pleasure. Really looking forward to Halloween. Some great games coming out. E3, even though everyone was soft-ass pussy. I guess that's the whole fucking thing right there. Still some good games coming out. Have me back on, and I'll try to bring some horror movie trivia or horror movie topics, and we'll see what we can do. Stella Trois, I need to be on again because I'm trying to get fucking sponsored, so maybe soon. Thanks, guys. Midnight Miles, I'm out. I appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thanks for
All
being
right,
on.
thanks for being on.
All right. So
A true professional. A true professional, Midnight Miles. He is a stern businessman making money at every turn he can. What the hell? Okay.
well, it's been like 2.5 hours, so we out.
No star reviews. Sorry about the arduous task of listening to this whole episode. Hopefully we entertained you, our loyal fan.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. This is Dynamite Jared.
And this is Buddy the Bruiser. We have been two nerds. This has been a podcast.